Have you ever wondered why some Bluey fans don't really like Judo? She's one of the very few characters in the show who divides the fandom. Some people find her bossy, impatient, and even mean at times, especially since she once made poor little Bingo cry. But is Judo really just a bad kid? Or could there be much deeper reasons behind her personality? Well, today we're diving into the hidden truth about Judo, her family, her struggles, and the fascinating little details that many viewers overlook. And trust me, by the end of this video, you might see her in a completely different light. Before we start, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos. Alright, let's start uncovering Judo's secrets. One of the most common fan theories about Judo is that her parents are divorced. If you pay close attention, you'll notice that in every single episode where she appears, she's only ever seen with her mom Wendy. There's no dad, no siblings, just the two of them living next door to the healers. That absence doesn't feel random. The most logical explanation is that Wendy and Judo's dad separated, making Wendy a single parent. Divorce can be really hard for any child to process, and it could explain why Judo sometimes acts out. Think about it. Judo doesn't always appear in the neighborhood, even though she literally lives right next door to Bluey's family. Where does she go when she's not around? One possibility is that she's spending time with her dad. If her parents share custody, then that would make perfect sense. Her dad might live in another part of Brisbane, or maybe even in a completely different city. Now we can only hope that Wendy and her ex separated peacefully. If things ended in a messy way, with lots of conflict, that would just make things even harder for Judo. Children often reflect the emotional struggles happening in their families, and maybe that explains her occasional temper and bossy behavior. Already, we can see that there's way more going on with Judo than meets the eye. Now here's a theory that gets even more interesting. Remember Judo's very first appearance in the episode Butterflies? She was kind of rude to Bingo, ignored her feelings, and even convinced Bluey to play without her little sister. That scene upset a lot of viewers and cemented Judo's mean girl reputation. But what if there's more behind her dislike of younger kids? Some fans think it could be linked to her family situation. Imagine this. After separating from Wendy, Judo's dad might have remarried and started a new family. If that's true, then Judo could have a half-brother or half-sister, most likely younger than her. For a child, that can feel like a rival. Judo may feel like this new sibling stole her dad's attention, especially since they live with him full-time, while she only gets limited visits. That kind of jealousy could easily turn into resentment toward younger kids in general. So when Judo sees Bingo, who's also a little sibling, maybe that's why she lashes out. It's not really that she hates Bingo, it's that Bingo reminds her of her own complicated feelings about her family. But here's something important to remember. Judo regretted her actions in Butterflies. By the end of the episode, she apologized and made up with Bingo, and since then, she's actually shown moments of growth. Even the official Bluey website admits she's bossy and impatient, but also emphasizes that she doesn't mean to be that way and is trying to improve. In other words, Judo isn't just a villain, she's a work in progress, just like all of us. Okay, this next theory is much sadder, but we have to talk about it. What if Judo's dad isn't absent because of divorce, but because he passed away? It's not impossible. We've never seen him, not even in small moments like picking Judo up from Wendy's house, and Judo herself has never mentioned him to Bluey or Bingo. Sometimes when families go through loss, it's simply too painful to talk about, especially if it happened recently. Wendy's own behavior might hint at this too. She doesn't show any interest in dating or finding a new partner. Of course, that could be because she's focused on raising her daughter as a single mom, but it could also mean she's still grieving and not ready to move on. If Bluey ever confirmed that Wendy is a widow, it would add a whole new layer of emotional depth to the show. It would also be a powerful way to address loss, resilience, and healing in a way that kids could understand. One thing we do know for sure is that Judo's mom has a huge influence on her personality. Take the episode Dirt, for example. Judo tries to play with Bluey and Bingo, but struggles to enjoy herself because she's worried about getting dirty. At first, It looks like Judo just doesn't like dirt, but the truth is, Wendy is the one who doesn't want her daughter messing up her fur. Remember, Chow Chows have gorgeous but very high maintenance coats. Wendy spends a lot of time grooming Judo, even when her daughter clearly doesn't care that much. In that way, she treats Judo less like a child and more like a delicate doll. Kids often copy the behavior of their parents, so it makes sense that Judo might be bossy with her friends, because her mom is bossy with her. That's how she learned to express care, even if it doesn't always come out in the right way. The good news is that by the end of the episode, Wendy learns from her mistake. She cuts Judo's fur short so her daughter can finally play freely, and she even cuts her own hair to set an example. That's a beautiful parenting moment, showing that even adults can change and grow.
Here's a detail a lot of fans forget.
Wendy, Judo's mom, is an immigrant. She used to live in England before moving to Australia. In fact, you can still hear her accent in the show. That cultural background might explain some of her strictness. England is known for its traditions of hierarchy, etiquette, and respect, values that might have shaped how Wendy parents Judo. Treating her like a princess who must always look perfect could be part of that influence. This adds another fascinating layer to Judo's character. She's growing up in Australia, but being raised by an English mother with her own set of cultural values. That mix could definitely contribute to Judo's unique and sometimes difficult personality. When you put all these pieces together, Judo suddenly looks much more complex than just the bossy neighbor. She's a kid dealing with family issues, high expectations, and a mom who's still figuring things out. The good news is that Bluey doesn't leave her stuck in one place. We've already seen her make progress, like apologizing to Bingo, or learning to enjoy playing without worrying so much about appearances. That's one of the best things about Bluey. Even side characters like Judo are given depth, challenges, and opportunities to grow, and they remind us that everyone, even the kids who seem difficult at first, has a story worth understanding. So, is Judo really unlikable, or is she just misunderstood? From what we've seen, she's not a bad pup at all. She's simply a child navigating challenges that many kids in the real world face: divorce, loss, overprotective parenting, pressure, loneliness. In that sense, Judo isn't just a cartoon character. She's a reflection of real struggles kids deal with every day. And that's why we love Bluey, because it doesn't shy away from showing the complicated side of childhood. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Judo's hidden story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. That way, you'll always be up to date with the latest theories, details, and news about Bluey. And who knows? Maybe in Season 4, we'll finally learn more about Judo's dad, her friendships, or even her future. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.